You just press play on the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the Huntroversy. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode number 95 of the Last Breath Huntcast, presented by Badlands Gear. Logan, Garrett, and I are back at it again, just like episode number 94, except for we have 3 new turkeys to talk about today. So that's what our topic is going to be, is recapping the turkeys that we killed during our 3rd season in Illinois. So this one's hot off the press. We're recording this on Sunday. 2 of the birds we killed were dead about 3 hours ago. The one Logan killed was dead about 2 days ago. So these are hot stories fresh on our mind. And before we get going, how are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Pretty darn good. Boy, we got stomped yesterday.
Absolutely.
But today, man, was a completely change of events. It's nice. We don't have to wake up tomorrow so freaking early.
Yeah.
But anywho, if you're listening, we appreciate it. And we're excited to share the stories with you. And the videos are going to be cool, too. So
yeah. So this is just a reminder before we get into it that every Monday morning at 6 a.m. you can listen to a brand new episode of our podcast. And every Wednesday at 11 a.m. you can listen to a new episode of the Whitetail Legacy podcast. So we killed 3 birds in the last few days. We'll go ahead and talk them through and talk about it. So Logan, your 3rd season kill with Ali. Go ahead and run us through it. Tell everybody what they need to know.
Okay, well, this was Allie's, I guess this was like the 3rd time she'd been out because we got one her 2nd hunt.
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
For, what was that, 2nd season, right?
Her first bird was second
season. And we went 2 hunts together. Both were like reaping situations, and her hunt, as you probably heard in the previous episode. And then Allie and I, this was our very first hunt together. So her 3rd hunt and my first hunt, minus Garrett, I think, which usually I've been thankful to be able to learn and watch a lot from Garrett. So I had a decent idea of what he does in the morning off the roost. So that was our situation, was we set up 3rd season was my season that I had. We had both taken Friday off this week of work. We pre-planned that so that we could hunt together, and then we kind of planned out the hunt.
Allie and Jim actually put the bird to bed. So
Yep.
started off by roosting him.
Yep. So they heard him the night before. They mentioned that the birds had been roosting previous years right by their house almost every year. And of course, this was the first time that I don't think that they really roosted there for whatever reason. Jim had speculated that it was because the river was up so high, that maybe kind of, who knows, but it just so happened that they were able to put the bird to bed the night before. Allie and I went out that next morning, and we heard him right off the roost, and we were set up perfect for it. Garrett helped us with kind of where to set up, and once we got out there, we were able to talk it through and figure out where to put the setup for the turkeys, or the decoys, sorry. What did we have? I'm trying to think what our setup was. We had
You had Teddy Teddy was your target decoy
hen.
with the laydown hen.
Yep.
And then you had a feeder and a lookout.
Yep. So that's what we had set up. Probably, I think looking back, we set them up a little bit too close to our setup. And no,
it worked fine.
Well, they were probably
turkey.
like 15 yards away, and then we were right on the edge of the timber so that we could look at
Cover
the
the
path
field
that
edge.
we thought that he was going to be coming out. So we were calling all through the morning, and it's just funny. Like, this is my first time, like, we were like, oh, we think he's closer. No, he's farther away. Well, I think what happened, he was just turning on the branch.
Oh, yeah.
And he just, it's funny how far they're
Directional sound is. Yeah.
Because and then just getting used to like what they sound like in a bottom versus in a field, because it is different.
Yep.
And I think when you're kind of left to your own devices, you really start to like think about that, because you're like, what do I need to do with these calls? Do we need to move, etc.? So we just waited, and I look up, and where we had no intentions of seeing any birds, there was a hen that came right into our decoys. I saw the hen first, and I said, "Hey, Allie," I don't think she could see quite from her angle. And she looked up and she came into the decoys, and she's quiet. She didn't say a word. I didn't know what she'd do, if she'd make any noise when he gobbled. You could tell she heard him, but he was just hammering. And then she kind of started walking towards the timber we thought he was either in or just on the other side of. So I was like kind of starting to panic. I was like, what if she goes to him and we never see him and then we lose our opportunity? So I grabbed my slate call real quiet. Allie and I went back and forth from calling that morning. So I grabbed my slate call and just started to hit some real soft calls because he was close enough he'd be able to hear it. And sure enough, he was answering right back. And then he came around the corner right in front of us, probably 100 yards away, I'd guess.
Yeah, probably.
I think, yeah, Garrett, you kind of know the setup well, but probably 100 yards away, and then he'd go into strut, and you could tell he was trotting right towards the decoys, and he got probably, I mean, he was close. He was probably like 20 yards away. And I shot, and honestly, I missed the very first time. And I knew it. I had re-racked already. He had flown straight up in the air right after I shot, and I realized I missed him because when he hit the ground, he was starting to run, so I shot again. And he was down for the count at that point. So,
Yep. So it was weird for me because this was their first time hunting together alone, and I could have probably hunted that morning with them, but I was like, all right, I gotta let him learn.
No, it was so good
but it
for
was
us.
killing me. I was at the gym and literally
What's happening?
Yeah, instead of working out, I'm like looking at, and I was texting him like, he should be gobbling right about now. And then, yep, he just started up. And then, okay, and then they sent me a Snapchat, and it's like super early, and you guys are calling. I'm like, no, don't call too soon. Just play it easy. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what's happening? And they're like, he's still gobbling. We can't tell if he's down or not. And I called Jim, who is still at home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you hear anything? What's going on? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I'll let you know if they shoot, And I was like, it was eating me up. I'm like, I should have just went. This is stupid. I messed up. God dang it.
It's kind of like I assume how a parent feels, right?
Literally.
When you gotta let your kids do their own thing. Like, we were new to it, but when someone is so knowledgeable like you are, Garrett, it's definitely like you do, whether you know it or not, you kind of rely on them for some, the knowledge or the calls or something when you're turkey hunting, or where to go or what to do. And then when you're by yourself, it was good for us. It was very good for us for you to have us do that on our own, and it was fun, successful, and mostly a lot of the things that you had taught us that we
it worked out perfect because, like you said, he came around the corner. As soon as he saw the setup, it was like charge, strut, and then, he covered 100 yards in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
It was perfect. And then I was super excited when Jim calls me. He's like, they just shot. And he's like, I hear them out there giggling and screaming like little girls. He's like, I know they killed one. And I was like, yes. Yes. Jim called me before you guys even did.
Oh, yeah. He came around the corner, about scared the crap out of us when we were out there. It was pretty,
but
yeah. That's a blast.
That's kind of neat because, you and Allie got her first turkey.
Mm-hmm.
You got your first turkey on your own. And so it just it's been a pretty good year for you guys so far.
Yeah. It's really, I think it was, again, speaking on Allie's behalf, like just getting to watch the film later, like when you are filming, you're so in that viewfinder that it's not like, I would say sometimes it feels like you're not seeing the same hunt. You're seeing it from a completely different perspective. You're almost trying to do everything the hunter would do, only with a camera, trying to make sure it's in focus, like similar to how a hunter would line up their sights or look at through the scope, what have you. But
yep,
it's just a different situation, but you still get the excitement. And the coolest thing is you get to share it with everyone later. So it was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this morning happened.
Yeah, that is very true. But before this morning, yesterday happened.
Yesterday was terrible. Yesterday was such a bad day.
It sounds like we had flip-flop situations, yeah.
Yes and no. So yesterday, Allie and Logan tried to go. They hunted today as well. Allie had a third season permit. They're on a new farm. Logan had hunted it before. They had 2 really close calls yesterday. You guys were by yourselves, and it sounds like one or two simple things away from.
Yeah, again, we learned a lot, I think, yesterday. Lesson of hard knocks a couple of times, I think.
But still, I mean, it's good. I mean, you guys are now kind of getting your feet wet at doing your own, reading turkey's body language and understanding, like what you're saying earlier, how directional the vocalizations are. You know, the difference between a tom gobbling towards you and away from you can make him sound 100 yards away or 300 yards away. And understanding what turkey noises mean, because yesterday you got to experience a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. And so it'll be fun. And Grant and I were talking about this just this morning, how short really you have to learn if you do it by yourself, or if you're not like us, where we're lucky. We really hunt for like 6 weeks almost, turkeys. But if you are a normal guy or gal that gets 2 or 3 tags, you know, realistically, you've got 2 or 3 weekends that are half days. I mean, how much knowledge can you soak up in a total of 12 or 14 hours or maybe 24 hours of turkey hunting? And then you wait until the complete next year to do it. Yeah. We're out every single weekend, some mornings when we can make it happen. And, you know, for us, we learn, 4 or 5 seasons worth of turkey encounters and calling and all that in 1 year compared to what, you know what I mean? Somebody else that just has, okay, I got my own tags, and, you know, like us, this weekend, we only can hunt the weekend. Mm-hmm. You know, it's hard to soak up that much stuff in just two days that are half days.
Yeah, but I think definitely when you do things wrong, sorry, Grant.
No, like you're good.
You learn. You're like, oh, never again.
Oh, man, I don't know what we did wrong yesterday. I don't know if we did anything wrong. Just the birds didn't want to play.
Yeah, I don't know what it was yesterday. We
didn't. We had the jakes come in. That was a cool encounter.
The jakes. Had one of those in our pocket. Yeah, the jakes worked real well for us.
So yesterday we were out hunting and we couldn't. Grant called it right off the bat. We heard these 3 hammer, and so we jumped up and moved. And Jesse kind of creeped out with Teddy to peek. And Grant's like, man, I think they sound like jakes. And Jesse and I are like, no way, man. They're good. They're good birds. And sure enough, here they come hammering right down the path.
I think the issue is with jakes, they kind of peer pressure one another into gobbling all in unison at the same time. So 3 jakes kind of do sound like one tom. Or multiple jakes sound like a single tom, just because they're able to string their little shitty gobbles together all into one legit gobble, and then they sound like a tom. So then those 3 come rumbling up and get from about me to the edge of the table from Jesse, who's behind the Reaper decoy, and that was the closest encounter we had with a turkey yesterday.
Yep, and then after that, it was just chasing gobbles. All the toms that we were hunting were henned up. We could get them to fire off and just blow their heads off, but they never committed. And so it was a hot, frustrating day. We were creeping through timber and cutting up over hills, and we put in a effort. Mm-hmm. We just never physically got to have an even like a reasonably close encounter with the tom.
Started at 5, hunted them hard till 1 p.m. when we have to shut it down and stop, which sucks because we had a lot of toms pretty fired up at about that 12 o'clock mark, and we just couldn't get them to break down over a hill. And for whatever reason, they just never end up doing it. So we had to leave those toms. They were just there gobbling their ass off at like 1 p.m., which is pretty rare for them to be gobbling that frequently at 1. I mean, they were pretty fired up in the afternoon. Answering everything, answering back. And you know, that's one of the downsides, I guess, to hunting in Illinois is we had to leave a big group of toms gobbling and with tags in our pocket.
Wrong. It felt wrong.
Like,
it's like,
oh, we're done now.
We're literally leaving, and we had 2 different sets of toms just going bonkers, and probably within 300 yards of us.
Yeah.
Right at the buzzer, we had a hen come over the hill, and I was like, oh, it's going to happen right at the bell.
Yep. It's like the full court shot of a game.
It's like
literally like 12:55.
12:55, and it's like, turkey coming up the hill right now. And then I'm like, yes.
Yes, here we go. Here we go.
The viewfinder watch and here comes a hen. I'm like, there's got to be one with her. Where is he? And she just stood there and stood there and stood there and stood there and looked at Teddy at about 30 yards and then walked away. And then at that time, it's like, I look, time's up, and these toms are still going nuts. And I'm like, you seriously have to, gotta leave, like right now.
Because typically when the clock runs out on us at 1 o'clock after we have a good day of effort, it's just like, oh, okay, well, that sucks, but we're done. Live to fight another day tomorrow. We never usually have to leave a gobbling tom.
Toms.
Toms,
Yeah.
Like we had two
plural.
different options, and it's like, God damn
This
it.
sucks.
This is so stupid. It feels wrong.
Yeah,
like
it does.
Anywho, but
But-
this morning was a completely different change of events. Kinda.
Kind of. It still started off real bad.
I mean, considering to wake up call at 2:40.
Yeah, so to make it to our turkey lease, I have to wake up at 2:40 to be at Garrett's house at like 3:25 so we can hop in the truck and be down there at 4:40 so we can walk the 30 minutes in and get there for first gobble. So
Dedication.
we get there. So we get there and we get set up and we're like, all right, there's our group of jakes right over there. We see some turkeys in the. It's just like that twilight time where you can kind of pick out a silhouette of a turkey, and you're like, oh, there's some basketballs up in that tree. There's turkeys. All right, here we go. There's our jakes. Got a hen in that tree, and we're pretty far away from it. And we're up underneath this tree, and we're like waiting for a gobble, and we're shitting around with each other, telling one another jokes. And
Well, we had moved first. Like
Yeah.
we walked in, and the turkeys were to our east, so they were silhouetted.
mm-hmm.
And hoot owled, boom, they popped off. And like you said, we're like, those are definitely those three stupid jakes.
Yep.
So we moved out of line of sight, and we were like hugged up next to these clump of cedars.
Yeah.
And we're talking about sex because we're guys. I mean, this is the truth. And I don't know. What you said something, and we all laughed.
I don't know what I said.
I just picture this. I just
Like,
oh
we
my
laughed.
gosh.
We laughed.
And then we laughed loud, and then we just hear the sound of like beating wings, one single pair of beating wings, like a tree that's probably 10 yards from us. We're like, ah, shit.
And we're like, that's the Tom.
That's the Tom that we
That's-
were coming in here to nail.
Because then
Everyone
we
gets
heard
silent.
nothing. Like we heard those jakes still, but we didn't hear the Tom that was there yesterday. And we're like, oh, well,
We're too busy
Great.
jacking around here. We're
Talking about our
scaring a
married
Tom
sex
off his
life.
Roof. And great, awesome. So then it's not even like legal shooting time yet, and we're still waiting on these toms to gobble. And we hear the north bird, who's like 600 yards north of our north fence line. So he's a freaking probably pushing on a half mile off of our property line. We're like, well, that's the only time we hear it. This sucks. So we grab our shit, walk out, which we're about
Before
half a
sunrise.
mile in. Which we're about half a mile in, which is not a very far walk, but it takes about 10 minutes to walk back out with all of our equipment and stuff. So then we're like, okay, we're missing the morning gobble. Great. We're not even going to make a setup in the morning. This is going to be a terrible day.
no, we
This
never
is gonna
said
be a
it.
terrible
You were
day.
thinking it, though. We
I was
never
thinking
said
it.
I
it.
just picture you guys like silent for like the rest of the sunrise.
Well, we were walking
just,
out.
Like,
I was just like
pouting.
walking out like, man, my spirit's pretty crushed right now. Like I'm running on a lot of fumes, and the only thing we ate yesterday was McDonald's and drank Monster
Guys all
Energies. Feel like shit this morning. Then we were walking out and we're like, oh, we're missing the morning gobble. Garrett's like, let's go somewhere else, see if we can nail one in the field. We don't want to miss the morning gobble at the other place. I'm like, why did we come here then? Was what I was thinking. Because we were gonna hit that single Tom,
I
which
know.
we effed off the limb. But anyway, so we get to the other place.
Glad we did.
I'm glad we did.
I mean, because if we
Now.
wouldn't have set up like safely, I mean, they probably would have pitched down, went north, and we'd be like, well,
we gave her a good run.
do we stay here? I mean, I
Do we
don't know.
play ball with this one?
They gave me shit all day yesterday and even this morning because I'm like, we got to go. Like, birds aren't playing. Let's go. Like, move. Let's go. Let's go.
I mean,
let's
I
go.
agreed with you. It was just, it's just like disheartening. It's like, man, why did we just get up that early? Why not just go jump one in a boogeyman one in the field
Oh
when we
my
got Teddy?
gosh.
So anyway, that's what we ended up doing. So then we go down to our other property. It's this turkey lease we have. It's actually 2 farms that we lease out from a guy. So property number 1, scrapped. On to number 2. We light one up off the road, and he's in an upper field. So it's about a 80-foot hill. So we climb up a little metaphorical set of stairs, if you will. We light one off. We scramble up the hill real quick. We get the Reaper decoy, and Garrett's circling out through the edge of this field, kind of where it pinches down and then opens back up, and he sees one, backtracks, gives Jesse Teddy. Teddy gets behind Jesse. Garrett gets behind Teddy, and they take off after this Tom. And then
Yeah, so just like you're saying, envision, we strike one up, jump down, run around. I peek over and then do the exchange. The Tom had not seen me yet. I just saw the back of his tail fans facing away, and we were probably 200 yards away from him when I saw him. We kind of regrouped. Grant runs back to the timber line, and then Jesse and I shed my backpack. Jesse takes Teddy, and at this point, I'm literally like army crawling behind Jesse because Jesse's got the decoy, and I'm, there's just enough of a swell in the
There's
field.
like a little trail of gear through an open field too. There's like the tripod, and then there's the camera bag, and then there's Garrett laying on his belly with the camera. That's all he's got. And then Jesse leading the charge about 20 yards in front of Garrett, who's laying on the ground.
So we get up, and Jesse's like, I can't see the Tom. I'm like, dude, he was there. I promise you. And he's like, I'm like, what do you see? He's like, I see 2 hens. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, you got that Tom has got to be here. And I'm staying hunkered down because I don't have the shield like Jesse does. Well, the first hen saw Teddy, and he's so dang realistic and so dang triumphant. That hen clucked right in. I mean, she literally like saw Teddy, and Jesse's like, she's coming right for us. I was like, okay. And so I'm filming kind of underneath Teddy as Jesse's peeking through the wing, and she got 20-ish yards right by us, and then she literally walked around us. So she deadheaded straight towards Teddy, and then she came completely on our side, probably 20, 30 yards away. And I'm like, how is this hen? She's fine. She's totally fine. And so she's like, what do we do? I'm like, keep going. He's like, what about the hen? I'm like, dude, I don't care about her. Like, let her. She's behind us.
Yeah.
I don't care if she runs away, does anything. When they're in between the Tom and you don't want to booger them up. But let her run into the timber. That's just one thing we don't have to worry about. So he picks it up, and he goes probably another 40 yards, and I'm crawling behind him. And then we have the other hen that's in the field. Now she starts coming our way. Still haven't gotten eyes on the Tom yet. She comes in, does the same thing, goes by us right into the timber. And so now Jesse's like, what do I do? I'm like, keep going down towards the cut, because the field had a crest that we were kind of sidestepping or side crawling, if you will. And then it bowled pretty hard. There's actually an orange tile like where all the water drains. And that's where that Tom went, into that little timber nook. And so Jesse, I'm probably 30 yards behind Jesse. Jesse's inching forward, and you can just see it. You can read his body language when he saw him. And he's like, and so
up.
For me as a cameraman, I'm way lower than Jesse. And Jesse's like, I'm like, do you see him? I'm like, can you see him? He's like, oh yeah. And we can't talk because we're far enough away. We can't whisper.
Just body language.
And he's like going like this, and I'm, motioning for me, like doing the hand motion coming.
Yep.
I'm like, do you want me to come, or is the Tom coming? I don't know who's coming. Do you want me to come to you, or is the Tom coming to you? Like, I don't know what to do here, and I can tell.
We need like Morse code.
Because he's like doing the hand signal, and he reaches for his gun. I'm like, well, shit, I can't move. Like, I literally went to go, like, kind of pick my head up to army crawl, and I see his fan. I'm like, well, I'm stuck. Like, he was motioning that the Tom is coming.
Oh, man.
So I, like, periscope up the camera, and I just see the Tom come into strut, and he goes out, and it's full charge. I mean, straight, just like Allie's bird, full freaking da-da-da-da. And Jesse,
80 yards to 15 yards in 10 seconds or less.
Nothing, man. And so Jesse shot him at, like, would you step it off 16 steps?
16.
And he could have poked him with the gun barrel. That bird was coming in white hot. I mean, rocket strapped on his ass. Woo! That was pretty cool because it was Jesse's first reap. And Jesse's last tag, I think he's done. Does he have another tag? I might have a 5th season tag. I don't know. I know he doesn't have a tag next weekend. Either way, it was freaking awesome. And Jesse just throttled him. Grant was able to, he was running the Facebook Live video on his phone, which is in the inner circle. And I don't know, it just all worked out really, really kind of cool. And it was, I was literally they had just dissed the field. And so there was tracks where the tractor had gone from spreading. It looked like there was lime on the field. So Jesse and I were literally in these giant, tire trenches. It was perfect for me because I was like just a little dirt mound,
Yeah.
And Jesse, the ground was soft enough so that Jesse was pretty close to the ground too. There wasn't a lot of open air underneath Teddy, and it worked out perfect. As soon as that strutter saw Teddy, I guarantee what happened is that when he was out spinning in the field, he had his 2 hens with him because we didn't see any other hens. He happy as can be. He got all puffed up and full of himself, and the 2 hens came towards us, and when he realized that his hens were gone, he's like, hey, you took my hens. Like, come here. This total perfect scenario.
Like a bar scenario.
'Cause he was totally infatuated with himself out there thinking he's hot shit. And his hens took off, and he turns around and he sees Teddy. No hens and this imposter. And he's
You son of a bitch.
yep. And it was like,
you will rue the day that you ruined my chance with those hens.
so that was awesome. So that happened. We celebrate, take some quick pictures, do all that jazz, and I'm like, dude, I heard a bird on the far end of the field. And mind you, this field is huge. I mean, it's probably 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
easy.
It's a very long field.
It's not very wide, but it's super long. There's a couple good finger cuts that run in it to break it up. And we peeked around a little bit, and then from there, we made the decision to cut back to the truck, drive down, and that's where your hunt began.
Yeah, so we get out, got around him. I think between the time that the bird was dead flopping on the ground and we shut the truck door, it was probably 10, 12, 15 minutes tops. So basically we got out, got Jesse's bird in the truck. We're hauling up this, this farm access lane. And this farm access lane is kind of nice because it brings us low beneath a hill and kind of side hills us up really gradually to the top of a hill. And lots of times we'll catch turkeys out there like today, just because it was so sunny, we'll catch them out there sunning and doing their thing, strutting their stuff. And so I get to the mouth where it's like, all right, well, we're about to see a turkey if there is one up here. So I creep to the top of it and I'm looking through the gap between Teddy's fan and his wing. That's where I kind of usually like to put the bill of my hat right underneath of his fan. So all that a turkey can see of me are my eyes potentially. And then I just raise up until I can see more and more and more of the horizon and the rolls in this hill. So finally, I'm fully extended all the way up, and I even go on my tippy toes a little bit, and I see just a couple inches of what looks like the top of this fan. So then, I'm about 6'4", I really reach up, and I like I'm dusting off the top shelf, and I put the fan way high. Like I'm probably reaching up to 8.5 feet. And then I see the fan like rotate and look at me. And then I kind of slowly bring it back down to my eyes, and I can see that he's coming over the crest of this hill. And so then I just gradually, like I said, I put my hat beneath the fan. I motioned Garrett up because I'm like, well, this one's roasted. Like it's going to happen, and it's going to happen pretty quick here. And so Garrett gets up right behind me. And he comes in from about 150 yards to about, I think we said it was about 40 when I shot him. So I just kept continually lowering myself because it was kind of like a teeter-totter, if you will. We were kind of,
the road was,
we're about 80% up the crest of a hill, and he was about 80% up the side of his crest. So as he was coming up, I was lowering myself down. As he was coming up, I was lowering myself down until finally he's at the point where he could see me when I was on my knees. So then he just keeps coming. He breaks about 80, and I'm like, Garrett, I'm going to be able to kill this turkey pretty soon. He's like literally right over my shoulder. Like I can feel him against my side because we're both hiding against Teddy.
I'm like
that's
stuck to him like a tick.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you see him? Like, no, I'm like shooting under your elbow.
Yeah,
and
Garrett's it is. It's all like touch, and you're like, I mean, even when we've stalked before, and it's like you have to like grab that person and feel how they're moving.
Yeah.
Because you can't be looking also because you just ruin the whole hunt.
It's like when you're in junior high and you're leading through your first haunted house. You've got that brave kid that's like got a lot of balls. That's like, I'm going first. I don't give a shit.
There's a whole chain of people behind them not
kids
looking,
trying to scare me, and then all the buddies are like tucked in, like their heads down. They got the back of the shirt of the person in front of them. They're like, why do we pay $20 for this? Why do we pay $20 for this? We should have went to see a movie. Anyway, and so that's Garrett was holding on to me, and then finally he gives me to the point where I'm like, all right, he's easily killable now. Like he's inside the 50 bubble, and he kind of puts the brakes on for a second. He's in full strut, and just when he put the brakes on, I was like, I could see if he wants to keep coming, but that little hesitation and the fact that he's not charging in because he was coming on a walk. It wasn't a trot.
Full strut, wasn't he?
Full strut. Basically the whole way. I don't know if he was coming in to pick a fight or maybe just hang out. Jesse's was coming in for rumble. Jesse was shot the turkey out of self-defense, but this one was, I don't know if it was coming in to investigate or what.
You friends, man? We friends?
Yeah. He comes into about 40 yards, and he kind of hangs up for a second. And I'm like, Garrett, you got him? And he's like, yeah, got him. So I put the gun in between the bottom of the fan and the wing, and I kind of tilt myself to the side, like kind of like you're doing a, what would that be, a
oblique?
yeah,
Like
a little oblique exercise, and I kind of go, Hint, and about a 45-degree angle on my torso, and I shot him, laid him flat, and that was the second bird we killed. And it was probably less than 45 minutes after Jesse had killed his bird.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool.
And that's, like you said, the bird never broke strut. I'm pretty sure you shot him in strut.
Yeah, I did.
But like, it was one of those things where it could have gone either way really quick. Because I think where he stopped is when he could see all of Teddy.
Yep.
And hence all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guarantee
Anything
he saw
exposed
my
of
legs
us.
because I was laying down, you know, and he could have either been like, oh, that's just a log, and kept coming, or he could have been like, you know what, something ain't right.
Bye.
And the way that when you reap, you know, for him, if he would have taken like 10 turkey steps in the opposite direction, even though he still would have been in range to kill, would have been out of his line of sight.
Yep.
It's kind of like one of those things where you read the situation, you go, okay, A, he's within killable range. I have a good shot on him. I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to take my opportunity. You know, I think you made the right call, because had you waited and seen what he did, you know, who knows? If, like I said, if he would have spun right around and went the other way, I don't think he was wigged out.
I don't think so either.
Because he was still in strut, but the fact that he hung up, dump him.
Yeah.
Yep.
You said a lot about that the other day about just reading turkeys when they come into the decoys and stuff, and just kind of like they're, again, like a lot of this with the hunters and with the turkeys, it's like reading body language. Like you said, when you peek over the hill, like that's always something that I do when Garrett's, when we're looking for turkeys in a field, and he always goes up with Teddy or a fan, and because you kind of have that advantage of the elevation where you can put that kind of in front of your head at least. And then the person behind, you just kind of got to read them, because obviously when you see something, you spin around, you obviously show somebody.
Right.
No one just spins around and like walks back and they're like, turkey. Like, it never happens.
It's always walk.
That was like with Grant. It was so cool because the guy with the Reaper, with Teddy, always goes first, and you give them the height. And so Grant's peeking, and he's doing good, and he's going slow, and then all of a sudden he's like, drops down. He's like, come on. And again, I'm stuck. I'm only like 10 yards away from Grant, but he's going like this. And I'm going, is a turkey rumbling in, or am I supposed to run to you? Like, I don't know. Because if there was a bird like 40 yards in the flat, he'd be here in 2 seconds. So it was just cool. It was freaking light switch day and white hot. We got some pretty cool pictures with you guys. I mean,
yeah.
We weren't even home this time yesterday.
No.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
No.
And another, I guess, a cool thing too to talk about is that we're doing a pretty cool project on a different lease that we have. It's actually a whitetail project. There's a gentleman by the name of Chad Kemper. He's got a brush eater for his bobcat, and after we got done turkey hunting, we went out there and looked at it, and man, it's going to be pretty neat. I think in a couple of years' time, after we get that bedding established, it'll be pretty cool. So to give context, Grant and I, we've done a lot of work on this farm. And there's just some equipment you can't afford. Like, there's no way. And something as specialized as this is pretty unique. We had an area that was old pasture. We wanted to do something with it. We didn't know what to do with it. And after talking together, we were like, what's the, as Chase Burns would say, low hole in the bucket. And we needed thermal bedding on this property. So Chad is working now still and clearing out this small, it's about 2 acres, high stem count, 2 to 3 inch, maybe some 6-inch trees in there of cherry, hackberry, elm, a little bit of ash. And so he's just chewing it to nothing. He's leaving every cedar tree. And then what Grant and I are going to go do is we'll go clear all the mulch off. Still have to figure out how to do that. And we're going to plant some white pines and some spruces in there and switchgrass in between. And it'll be pretty neat. It'll be right in the heart of our farm. It'll be protected from the wind, from the hardwoods all around it. And then we'll have those cedars and those pines as they grow up to give them some thermal cover. I mean, it could be something special. It's a crapshoot. We don't know how it'll turn out, but we're going to try like hell to make it work.
Yeah, and I just think it's pretty neat how we've, taken the time to optimize the way that farm hunts. It hunted well when we took it over about 8 or 9 years ago, but for example, this shed season, the most sheds we've ever found on that property before is 2 sheds in a year. We just hardly ever find anything. But due to the things that we've improved, we were actually able to find, 11 sheds this year. So 4 times the amount of antlers. And it's a small property, you know, it's nothing huge. There's it's right at 100 acres, and you know, about 40 acres of it is field. So we've got about 50 acres of timber there. And just due to the things that we've tried to control and tried to manipulate, I feel like we're improving, definitely, at least the amount of deer we're holding during late season. So hopefully this is just adds on to the amount of sheds that we can find, adds on to the amount of deer we can kill during the late season, stuff like that. Just because we've already made a couple of the real pivotal moves to make deer killable in October. Now we're just trying to optimize the tail end of our season, so that way, you know, if the rut doesn't pan out or anything like that for us, that we have our late season gun tags and late season food sources to fall back upon. So it's pretty cool to see that happen.
From a different perspective too, I mean, like the hunting season, just the hard winter at the end here, like in Illinois, just the fact that you guys are doing that, like, I mean, yes, there's a lot of time and effort, but for the herd health, it's got to be amazing compared to, I mean, residential around here. We just drive down our road and like the arborvitaes are probably eating 8 feet. I don't know how high up, every single one of them, all the way around the trees. Like, this was just a really, really hard winter, and to find probably warm places for deer and food in general. So I always think that's cool about what you guys do. Some people, I'm sure, like, you know, why are you putting so much time and effort into that? But what it does overall for the whole deer herd to just take out some mature deer every year, I mean, it goes far.
You're hitting it on the head, because yes, is the goal to kill mature bucks. Yep, not gonna lie, that's what we want to do. That
is the purpose.
That's us cashing in, but it's an overall benefit for even other wildlife.
Absolutely.
Like, once we've got a mix, the local NRCS office, I talked to the gentleman Paul Grissom there, and we developed a mix. It's switchgrass, little blue stem, a small amount of big blue stem, and some other just good warm season grasses. But it's predominantly those 3 species, and within that, you know, we're going to be able to help for fawn recruitment. It's going to give does a safe place for them to have and hold their babies this summer. We're going to have, hopefully, a nice little spot for some upland birds if they're in the area, quail, pheasants. It's going to be a great place for turkeys to nest. I mean, it's not just going to help with big buck killing, is it? Absolutely. But it's going to benefit everything else, all the other deer and some other species too. I mean, we've seen a difference just in the turkeys that are on our farm. And this is not the bedding area, but things that we've been implementing. We've got probably close to a 5-year plan. You know, unfortunately, we don't have the time or the money to do everything all at once. I don't know if we'd even want to shock the farm that hard.
Yeah, it'd be a real shock.
But, yeah, so anywho, from turkey hunting to land management, I don't know. It's been a cool, Grant said, he's like, man, we got a lot of stuff done in the last 10 days. Killed some birds. We've got a lot of stuff done for our deer hunting. Food plots are going to be... For those of you guys
that listen to us go on our rants and raves about trespassers for the last 2 years, we have tried to address that in the best way possible that we can legally do. So we took care of that.
That's the funniest situation ever. It's like being like a neighbor and be like, man, I really like to swim. I think I'll just go jump in my neighbor's pool. It's just so silly to me.
It's a bummer, but I think this was one of the first times this year we've been down our road and not had somebody parked. Usually about this time a day on a weekend during mushroom season, it's mushroom hunters. I mean, and I understand why they want them. Morels are delicious, but it's always been a nuisance out there, and especially it's like, man, we're trying to do so much to make this place nice, let alone that we want to pick our own morels.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just stay off. So we had Clint Hines from Ridgetop Screen Printing make us some giant aluminum no trespassing signs. They're 3 foot by 2 foot, big red and white signs, and we put 4x4s in the ground, concreted them, and have them obnoxiously labeled on the edges of our property. So it'll help. But anywho, getting back to it, Chad Kemper, you can find him on Facebook. If you do, let him know that we sent you. He's got super reasonable rates, especially for what he can do. Local to the Quad Cities area. Not just for bedding areas, but you got a food plot you want to make, or if you got an area even in your house that you just got some brush that you want to do. He does it all. It's not just deer management stuff. I mean, it's brush clearing. It was impressive today to watch him just walk up to like a 5-inch cherry tree, like lift the drum up probably about 8 feet tall and just completely obliterate the top of it, and then just mash it down. He just pulls the drum down on it and just like spits literally like mulch. I'm like, whoa, holy.
Yeah, you just deleted that tree from
Yeah, that's what Grant said, deleted it. Yeah, you just deleted that tree.
Tree has been erased. It's
like,
no longer
holy
exists.
crap. And anything smaller, it's like
Vaporized.
if you've got like multiflora rose, or you got like,
oh yeah,
or buckthorn, or
that
something.
sucker wouldn't even hiccup at that.
Yeah.
No.
It just chews it up and turns that to like sawdust.
Yeah.
Honeysuckle just gone. I mean, and we're talking legit trees, hardwoods, and just oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a zombie apocalypse ultimate weapon. Just drive.
Yeah.
Just drive.
Really? Yeah.
Just drive.
How many people are out there? I don't know. It don't matter.
No.
Just hit the gas.
So, anywho, we're on a hot streak. We've got some really cool special friends.
Shane and Robert.
I
I have a Would You Rather
Yay.
segment for Shane and Robert. So, would you rather, now that we're on here, Shane kill his first bird via reap or traditional?
Oh, reap.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Reap, 100%.
I could only
So
imagine.
we've talked
how
about
fun
him
that would
before.
be.
Shane is a mammoth of a man. He's like
He's like 2
6'5".
inches taller than me and 40, 50 pounds heavier.
He's a giant. I'm like, I don't know if Teddy's
my
big
yellow
enough
shorts?
to hide this man. I'm serious. We're gonna have to put a peacock fan in this. Like, he's just big, not fat. He's just fucking big,
Clarify there.
dude. And so him and Robert are coming with their wives. They drew some turkey tags, and we're gonna be hunting with them this coming week into the weekend. We're excited to have them in. So they're a ton of fun. I hope that we don't get too liquored up. I will not miss a morning of hunting.
Nope.
We may be hanging like a son of a bitch, but we're not missing the morning.
Well, the second one I have here is on the last day of their hunt, hypothetically. Last day that we hunt would be Sunday. A Jake comes in simultaneously with a bearded hen also comes in. Which would you rather them shoot, the bearded hen or the Jake?
Whichever one they want. I don't care. For me personally,
All right, fair enough.
whatever tickles their pickle the most. So,
Did you hear that, Shane?
yeah.
Whatever tickles your pickle.
But I don't know. So, and also next weekend you guys are going to Kansas.
Yeah.
So it'll be if you guys don't tune in, if you're not part of the inner circle, or you check out our stories on our Facebook or especially our Instagram, we should have some pretty cool updates coming.
Should.
Starting Wednesday, you guys head for Kansas.
We get our asses kicked for
Gosh,
2
I
or
hope
3
not.
days straight. That'd be a rough one, but
Yeah.
we'll be all right.
Oh,
We're taking Jock the Jake with us.
Jacques.
Jock. Cousteau.
But it's gonna be a good year. It's turkey season's we're about the halfway point right now.
6
for us.
birds down.
Well, just kind of middle of the season, we're right at the tipping
Gosh,
tipping
you guys
point.
got a lot
Right
of
at the
sex on
tip
your
of the
mind
titty.
today.
The titty point.
The titty
Jeez.
point. We're dudes, man. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me? You break open my head, there's gonna be nothing but bucks, boobs, and long beards fall out of it. So, yeah. In closing, it's pretty awesome. We've got a pretty cool film. Super excited
Ooh, yeah.
that we're dropping.
Yeah. Real soon here. So Throwback Thursday this week, we got a good reap for you. So check out our YouTube channel on Thursday evening at about 7 p.m. And then 8 a.m. this Saturday, we are dropping the turkey film. So in the past, we've dropped, 6 to 8 episodes in the spring and then the rest of them in the fall that coincide with turkey and coincide with deer season. But we've decided let's just roll all the turkey kills into one film, and you'll be able to watch that on May 1st, this coming Saturday at 8 o'clock in the morning on our YouTube channel. So make sure you hit that up, check that out, and you'll be able to see all the birds we put in the dirt last season. So that's going to be a little longer than a typical film that we'll show you guys, but we felt like let's hammer it home because we've got about 16 big game episodes that we're going to be dropping in the fall. About $10, got some elk, Got a couple hand fishing episodes we're going to be rocking and rolling. And then we got our trip to Nebraska that we took. So lots of stuff coming this fall. So we're like, you know what? This season doesn't need to be 30 episodes. If we, make 5 to 10 turkey ones, well, let's just make one turkey film. So that, again, is coming on Saturday, May 1st at 8 a.m. Last Breath Live, you guys know about those being moved to Saturday mornings. That's pretty much it. If you want any of our discount codes, hop in the inner circle. 30% off Badlands. If you're interested, just message any of the 8 of us. Those people in the inner circle, you're good about that. So we just don't want that code, drifting around the internet too much. So
because it's for you guys, it's for our listeners and our
Mm-hmm.
followers. I mean, it's not that we don't care who has it. It's just, it's a little bit extra special when you've got that ace in your pocket and it's not just out for willy-nilly anybody. So it's just, I guess, by keeping it kind of not under lock and key, but keeping it tight-knit.
You've proven basically that you're a strong
Well, it's not even that. It's just that
put
you
the
guys
time and effort into
right.
You care about
supporting
what
us.
we're doing.
Yeah.
And we care that you guys care. That's our way of saying thank you, I guess is the best way to put it. Is that instead of just putting it out to blast, it's our way just to say, hey, man, we really appreciate you being a follower, a supporter, a fan, hey, whatever, a friend. And here's a way that we can say thank you.
And another thank you at the launch party. July 23rd, mark your calendars. The tickets are currently being printed. Oh, boy. It's going to be
Rowdy.
awesome this year. And we just figured out the other day, Wayne's bringing more deer than we anticipated. So there's going to
man.
be about 30 of them potentially at our
Like a
launch
little
party.
show.
It's going to be a legit
Yeah.
deer show. All deer
Yeah.
killed this year in either Illinois or Iowa in our area. So that's Davenport at the Adler Theater. Doors are going to open at 6:30. Films are going to roll at 7:30 on Friday, July 23rd. Again, Friday. We hold our launch party on Friday. So that's pretty much it. We will see you guys next time when we will hopefully recap a good 4th season. But until then, thanks for listening to the Last Breath Huntcast. We'll see you next Monday. Don't waste it.